Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I really wanted to film another one of these favorites revisited videos. I did a video like this at the end of last year where I took a look back at some of my favorites from 2017 and I let you guys know if they were still favorites or if I've replaced them with something else. And now that I've really been shopping my stash quite a bit over the past few months, I've discovered a lot of older favorites and I think it's so much fun to kind of fall back in love with something that you used to love that you kind of forgot about. So today I'm going to take a look back at my favorites from 2018. I went through all of my videos for spring and summer and I wrote down everything that I mentioned, and I'll let you guys know if the products are still in my collection or if I've replaced them. I always think it's really interesting to see which products kind of stand the test of time, which ones are no longer favorites. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let's kick it off with eyeshadow palettes. So there were 4 eyeshadow palettes that I really loved at that time, and I talked about them nonstop. The first one is the Colourpop Fame palette. This is definitely still one of my favorites. Unfortunately, it has been discontinued, so you can no longer get your hands on it. But I remember when they came out with this palette, a lot of people were not interested in it at all because I think in 2018, warm-toned palettes were so popular. They are still popular. A lot of people enjoy them, but not a lot of brands were doing cooler-toned palettes. So I was really excited about this one, and I don't think that I expected to like it as much as I did, but I fell in love with this one. It's such a great palette for everyday wear if you tend to go more subtle with your eyeshadow, if you just like cooler tones in general, and I would love for them to bring this one back, especially now that brands are doing more colorful and even cooler toned palettes. It would be a nice change from so many warm toned palettes, but Colourpop has done a couple of cooler toned palettes since then, so I'll actually link some alternatives in the description box below, but this is definitely still a staple of mine. As much as I love that one, there were some warm toned palettes that I really enjoyed that spring and summer as well. The Anastasia Soft Glam palette was definitely a favorite of mine. I can't remember exactly when this palette was released, but I always love using this one during the spring and summer. There's something about these tones that just kind of scream summertime to me, and it's so much fun to use because you can get more of a subtle look or you can do more of a smoky, sultry look, and it's just very easy to work with. You get so many gorgeous staple matte shadows, and then there are a few pops of metallic that look great all over the lid. So whenever I go out of town during spring and summer, I always bring this one with me just because I feel like it has everything I need. So this is definitely still a favorite of mine, and I do recommend picking it up in 2020 if you're looking for more of a warm-toned palette that can be great for day or night. The other warm-toned palette that I was really into that year was the Juvia's Place Nubian palette. I was so new to Juvia's Place in 2018. This was my first introduction to the brand, and I really enjoyed the formula. The Juvia's Place metallic formula is still one of my favorites, and I wouldn't say this palette is a staple in my collection at this point. Like, I have other warm-toned palettes that I reach for over this one, but again, whenever summer rolls around, I always break this one back out again just because the metallics are so gorgeous. I do find that I don't reach for the matte shadows quite as often these days just because I have discovered other matte formulas that blend a little bit better, but I just remember loving this palette so much, and it did lead me to purchase additional products from Juvia's Place. So I do still enjoy it, but I wouldn't call it an essential or a favorite at this point. The last eyeshadow palette that I fell in love with that summer was the Face Candy Atlantis palette, and that was such a gorgeous palette. At that point, a lot of brands weren't doing super colorful palettes, especially greens and blues. They were just starting to become trendy again. So I was so excited when Face Candy released that palette. It was super affordable. It was like $12 or $14. The metallic shadows were insane. They were so gorgeous. They kind of reminded me of Juvia's Place. They were very blendable and rich. The matte shadows were pretty powdery, and I felt like they weren't the best that I've ever tried, but for the price point and the fact that there weren't a lot of other options, it worked so perfectly and I enjoyed it so much. I did recently declutter that when I did my eyeshadow palette declutter because at this point a lot of brands have done more colorful palettes, so it is no longer a favorite of mine. The colors were great, they were so gorgeous, but now when I do a more colorful look, I typically reach for my Colourpop 9-pan monochromatic palettes or maybe even a few other palettes in my collection. But at the time, it was my favorite. It was a staple and I enjoyed it so much, but I have replaced it with a couple of other products. Okay, let's talk about a couple of other eye products. So there were 3 mascaras that I was really focusing on. The one that has truly stood the test of time for even longer than the past 2 years would be the Essence Lash Princess False Lash Effect Mascara. I recently repurchased this. I fell back in love with it. It makes your lashes so long and dramatic, and I think this will always be a favorite of mine. I can't even remember the first time that I purchased it, but I think it was like 2016, 2017, and I've repurchased it so many times since then. At that time, I was also loving the Butter London Stroke of Wow mascara, which I did enjoy. I remember that it made my lashes super thick and long and dramatic, but I never ended up repurchasing it in the past 2 years. So obviously it is no longer a staple. It's tough with high-end mascaras because I fall in love with a lot of formulas and I enjoy them, but when it comes down to it, I go through mascara pretty quickly because I like to layer quite a bit on. So I'm always, torn. Is a high-end mascara really worth the price tag when there are so many good drugstore options that I love? And typically the answer is no. So that one is no longer a favorite at this point. I would have to say the same about the Tarte Lifted Sweatproof mascara. I haven't repurchased that in the past 2 years, so obviously it is no longer a favorite of mine. And again, I felt like it was really good. And as I was kind of going through my older favorites, I was like, maybe I should try that one again. But when it comes down to it, I just like drugstore mascaras. There are so many great affordable options that typically I won't buy a high-end mascara unless it's on sale during like Ulta's 21 Days of Beauty. So the only mascara out of those three that I still love would be the Essence Lash Princess. There were 2 different brow products that I really loved, and I completely forgot about both of these. In fact, I didn't even realize that I had tried one of them because I've gotten some suggestions to pick it up again recently, and I was like, oh, I'll have to try that out. But apparently it was a favorite of mine during 2018. So that one is the NYX Micro Brow Pencil. A lot of you guys have recommended that to me lately, and I keep meaning to pick it up. And apparently I used it all the time in 2018, but I completely forgot about it. And I think the reason why that one got replaced in my collection is because I couldn't find a shade that wasn't too red toned. I definitely prefer more of a neutral undertone or even a cooler undertone when it comes to my brow products. And typically when I try the NYX brow products, a lot of them are very warm toned. So I remember that I finally found brow products that had cooler undertones, and I think that's why I no longer use that one. But I do remember really enjoying the formula. So unfortunately, that one is no longer a favorite of mine. I must have like completely wiped it out of my memory because I didn't realize I had even tried it. I wonder if they would have a shade that would work for me now because I would love to try it again because I did enjoy the formula. The other brow product that I no longer use is the Essence Make Me Brow Eyebrow Gel Mascara. You guys, I remember raving about that product. I must have repurchased it like 5 or 6 times. I enjoyed it so much. It was one of the best brow gels that I had tried, but I remember the product that replaced it, and that was the Colourpop Brow Boss Gel. The Essence Brow Gel was great, but when the Colourpop Brow Boss Gel came around, no other brow gel really stood a chance for me because that one makes my brows look very hair-like, and I don't have a lot of brow hair. I have to pretty much draw on my entire brow, and I love the Colourpop Brow Boss Gel because it just gives your brows like a lifted, textured appearance. So as much as I did enjoy the Essence Brow Gel, I had to replace it with the Colourpop one. I'm sure if I tried it now in 2020, I would enjoy it, but I don't think that I would like it as much as Colourpop's. There's just something about the Colourpop texture that is so perfect. Let's move on to cheek products. So there were 4 cheek products that I really enjoyed: 2 bronzers, a highlighter, and a blush. So the 2 bronzers are definitely still staples in my collection, and I didn't realize that I've been loving these formulas since 2018, but these have definitely stood the test of time because I really haven't found other formulas that I like better than these. The first one is the e.l.f. bronzer. This one is their primer infused bronzer. I wear the shade Forever Sunkissed. I swear I have to hit pan on this soon. I use this all the time, and every single time I use it, I think I'm going to hit pan on it. There's a dip in the product, and I feel like I can see the outline of the pan underneath the bronzer, but this is like the never-ending bronzer. This is $6. It is so blendable and perfect and smooth. I would love to see them expand the shade range because I believe they only have 3 shades. This one is the lightest, but I really enjoy it because it just stays in place well, it blends out perfectly, and it definitely is still a staple for me. I rave about it all the time. The other bronzer that I loved is the Balms Take Home the Bronzer. This is still my absolute favorite bronzer. I've tried quite a few formulas since then, and nothing compares to this one. I'm wearing it today. I have the lightest shade Oliver, and I've repurchased it probably 2 or 3 times. Thankfully, this bronzer does last a long time because you don't need a ton of product. It just blends out perfectly. I would say these formulas are very, very similar, but the Balms bronzer is a little bit more rich and it has more color payoff. I would also say it's slightly cooler toned. So this one is perfect for me if I want to kind of bronze and contour. I don't typically take the time to contour these days. So this is great on days where I feel like I want to contour, but I just want to go in with one product and kind of blend it all over my cheeks. And I love this so much. Again, this one has really stood the test of time. Both of these have, because I haven't discovered one bronzer that I like better than these. I did love the e.l.f. Baked Blushes that spring and summer, and I do love that formula. I don't have them in my collection because I just recently decluttered them. I think that I purchased those baked blushes years ago, like way before 2018, and the formula recently expired. It just changed. They weren't performing as well, so I did have to get rid of them, unfortunately, but I think if I was to repurchase them, I would still love the formula. The e.l.f. Baked highlighters, on the other hand, are no longer favorites of mine. At that point, I did enjoy the formula, but I've discovered so many other highlighter formulas that I like better. My highlighter preferences have changed so much over the years, and typically I prefer a little bit more of a subtle highlighter, and I would say that those were on the more subtle side, but they also felt a little bit more dry compared to a lot of my staple formulas. Let's move on to face products. So I have 3 powders to talk about. 2 of these powders are definitely staples for me during the summertime. I haven't really reached for them yet because it's May and we just had our first day above 70 degrees yesterday. It's been so cold. It doesn't typically get above like 50, 55 degrees. So I want like a super hot, warm day. It was so beautiful to see that 70-degree weather day. So I hope they come around more often. But anyways, I do love these powders during the summer. The first one is the Essence All About Matte Fixing Compact Powder. This one is perfect for summertime because it is a super matte, super powdery powder. But I love the fact that it is so powdery because I need all the powder that I can get during the summertime. This is the one that I reach for if I don't feel like I need any extra coverage because it is a translucent, lightweight powder. I also like this one for touching up throughout the day, and it's great. It's super affordable. I just kind of throw it in my bag, keep one at my vanity, and I do love it. So it is still a favorite of mine. The other powder that I love during the summertime is the Urban Decay All Nighter Waterproof Setting Powder. This one locks my foundation into place all day long. I don't typically reach for this during the spring, fall, winter because my skin doesn't get that oily to the point where I really need this. I do feel like it would be nice, but it's a little bit dark for me. It's not a true translucent powder, so I feel like I can't really wear it unless I have a slight tan, and typically I don't need it unless it's like the middle of the summer. So I do still love this product so much. I enjoy both of these. They're definitely still favorites. A powder that I no longer have is the Catrice Waterproof Mattifying Setting Powder. I kind of go back and forth on that one. I'll purchase it and I'll use it, and then I won't repurchase it once I use it up. I haven't repurchased that one for a while just because I do have other pressed powders that I like better. That one is almost too subtle for me and too lightweight for me. I just feel like I need something a little bit more powdery and something that really locks things into place. If you have dry skin or you need a lighter pressed powder, you might enjoy that one. And again, there are times where I like it, but I wouldn't call it a favorite of mine. I think 2018 was the year that I discovered the e.l.f. Oil Control Primer Mist, and I can't believe it's been that long ago because this is definitely still one of my favorites. I love this product during the spring and summer, really all year round, because it does keep my skin from getting too oily throughout the day, but it's not a super drying, mattifying product. It is a water-based primer, so you can spray it directly onto your face or press it into your skin if you spray a little bit in your hands, and this comes in handy all the time. It's definitely my go-to product during the summertime. As for complexion products, I guess I was still using the Urban Decay All Nighter Foundation in 2018, and that kind of surprised me because I felt like I had discovered other alternatives that I liked better, and I might have, but I think it was still one of my go-to products, and that is no longer a favorite of mine. That foundation is super full coverage. It's pretty heavy, and I definitely still enjoy full coverage foundations, but I feel like I feel like full coverage foundations have come a long way since then, and they're not as heavy on the skin. So I do like full coverage, but that product is no longer a favorite of mine. I haven't reached for it. I haven't purchased it or even had it in my collection for probably the past 2 years. I think that was the last summer I really loved it. That is also the summer where I really fell in love with the Colourpop No Filter Concealer, and I wore this as foundation. I still do that all the time. I love wearing this concealer as foundation because it just evens out your skin tone, but it blends out so easily. So when I'm in a hurry, but I feel like I still want to apply some makeup, I'll typically take this product, blend it out, set it into place with like maybe the essence powder or a lightweight powder, apply mascara and a brow gel, and I'm done in 3 minutes. When it comes to makeup, I feel like I either want to take the time to do a full makeup look like I'm wearing today, or I'll skip it. But there are days where I feel like I want to apply a little bit of makeup. So this product is still a staple of mine. I use it all the time. And then the last product that I shared as a favorite was the Colourpop Lippy Stick in the shade Aquarius, and just the Colourpop Lippy Sticks in general. I still have Aquarius, and this one is old because I used to put stickers on my products that I was focusing on using up, like the products in my project pan. And I think purple was maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. So I actually need to replace this. I was going to say I've almost used it up completely. These Colourpop Lippy Sticks take forever to use up, but I still wear Aquarius all the time. In fact, I feel like I've kind of rediscovered my love for the Colourpop Lippy Sticks. I've been wearing them so much. They're just very creamy and comfortable, but they stay in place a little bit better than other cream lipsticks in my opinion. So I enjoy them so much. I also love this shade. I need to repurchase it because this one is so old. I don't know how much longer it'll last. So those are all of the products that I really wanted to talk about in today's video. I'll put a picture on the screen for you guys. These are all of the products that I still love and I enjoy. I still have them in my collection and I would consider them favorites. And then these are the products that I no longer have that I've either decluttered or I have found replacements for. So I hope today's video was informative or interesting. If you guys, want to do this, I would love to know which products have stood the test of time since 2018 or longer. 2018 wasn't that long ago, but I feel like since then, a lot of my makeup preferences have changed and I'm always trying new products. So when a product can remain a favorite for years and years, I feel like it's a really good product. It's a staple and it really is an essential of mine. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great day and I'll see you very soon with a new video. Bye.